Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back, Jake Allen here, and it's been a month since Scaled and Icy has dropped. Insane, that month flew by. I thought it'd be a good idea to put an updated review out there, overall thoughts on Scaled and Icy and how it ranks up against other 21 Pilots albums overall. For this album in particular, it was a lot harder for me to identify if I actually enjoyed the album as a whole. As someone who really enjoyed Trench and their previous works, those albums definitely gave me a solidified feeling afterwards, where Scaled and Icy, to be honest, left me a little bit confused as to what 21 Pilots was going for and their overall direction of the album. But now, like I said, we've had a little bit more time for it to marinate, and I wanted to share my overall thoughts and review and rank it among other 21 Pilots albums. So first off, I thought it'd be good to just go over the overall theme of this album, the theme being denial. I think that's really present in Good Day. Denial in situations where we're definitely not okay and we need help, but we put on this positive facade, acting like everything is cool on the inside and outside as well. And by starting off this album with Good Day, I think it furthers the idea that this is not 21 Pilots. This is not Tyler and Josh producing this music. If we look at other albums such as Blurry Face, Trench, even Vessel, they all start out with this pretty heavy track, which Tyler has stated is intended to basically let you know that this album is going to take over your life for the next hour. But with Scaled and Icy, we got this tonal shift. You know, Good Day is not that brooding, overbearing track that's really dark and heavy. Yeah, lyrically it's a little bit in that realm, but the sound of the album and the sound of this opening track is a lot more light. And that brings me to Choker and Shy Away. These songs both kind of reminded me of their earlier music from Vessel, because the lyrics of the songs, especially with Choker, are a lot more dire and a lot more somber. Nobody's coming for me. That is a pretty heavy statement, realizing that even though this song is light and cheery, it's communicating that no one is truly in your corner ready to back you up. And that definitely reckons and harkens back to earlier works of 21 Pilots. Shy Away is another one that really grew on me over time, and I would probably say this actually is my favorite song off of the album, especially now that we have the live stream experience version where we get the full-on Tyler Joseph scream in the middle of the song. Don't you shy away. In terms of my initial reactions to songs like The Outside, Mulberry Street, and Bounce Man, The Outside has significantly grown on me over time, which is insane because I feel like I bashed that song quite a bit in my initial reaction. The instrumentation on that song is solid, but what initially turned me off was the lyrics. I didn't feel like it was super deep. I felt like the rap was really cheesy, referencing a Megalodon and Megatron, but over time, these things are what became earworms in my brain. These elements of the song are the parts that I find the most catchy, and even after directly filming my reaction to that song, The Outside is the one that remained in my head the longest, and I had it unconsciously on repeat the most. That rapping section is incredible. I love it. It doesn't have to be super deep, and I think that is where my expectations were kind of messed up going into this album. I really was expecting a deep lyrical journey for this album, and although there are great moments of lyrical quality such as Redecorate, I don't think that it's as consistently lyrically strong as other albums within the 21 Pilots discography. And you know what? That's okay. And my brain took a while to get to that conclusion, but ultimately, now that we really kind of see that this album is a culmination of a bunch of fun songs that uses the facade of Dima and the paint coat of the Trench universe as a way to include it into the lore, I think that it really succeeds in doing what it set out to do, which was to serve as a fun album that Tyler and Josh put out, honestly, just because. Now, don't come at me saying that I'm wrong for saying that there isn't a lot of lore in the album. There definitely is, and I acknowledge that. But it's clear that this album intentionally wanted to deliver a more carefree vibe and didn't try to crush you and overwhelm you with the lore. Never Take It still remains one of my favorite songs on the album. I think the energy is incredible. I absolutely adore it, and I think that the Jack White Stripes influences are really undeniable. undeniable in that song. Saturday is one that has definitely shrunk on me over time. It's not that the production is bad. It's actually really good, and the song quality is actually impeccable. But for me, there is just not enough lyrically to bite into or to sink my teeth into to make it really worth my while. Again, I know that Saturday is a very controversial track, but for me and my opinions of it, it's fun whenever it comes on, but I do find myself skipping it about half the time. Mulberry Street is another song that I really grew to love. For whatever reason, I was really quick to dismiss it. I think a lot of people online were overhyping it, and when I finally got around to listening to it for my reaction, I wasn't really impressed. I wasn't really vibing with it, but similarly to The Outside, it's really grown on me over time, and just like so many other songs off of Trench and Blurryface, the ones that really take their time to slow down, those songs never really appeal to me right off the bat. But with repeated listens and repeated plays, I find myself able to dissect them further. And in these repeated plays are when I really start to appreciate these songs in the vein of Mulberry Street. I always look forward to the part where the vocals come down a couple octaves and we resume the second half of the song with the trumpets, the horned instruments, and that part is just such a vibe. I love it. Formidable is one that definitely shrunk on me over time. It's not that it's a bad song, but with the first listen, I think I was just swept away by these feel-good vibes. I'm always down for a wholesome song, a song that is so jolly and fun to listen to, and Formidable definitely was that for me upon first listen. But for me, and with repeated listens, it kind of does come off as pretty simple, pretty straightforward, with nothing to peel back, if you will. Again, good song. It's not a bad song, but it definitely does rank lower on the overall track listing. I will say, though, that I can deduce that this song is definitely not about Jenna. I don't know where I got that. I think it's because it sounded like Smithereens. But can we agree that it's actually about Trash the Dragon? Like, if we look at the lyrical video on YouTube for this song, we see the flame everywhere. We see the dragon itself plastered everywhere. And we see like scales fly across the screen. It's definitely about trash, or at least what trash represents. Bounce Man, let's talk about that song. It kind of did the unexpected. It kind of won me over a little bit. Did I just discredit myself as a 21 Pilots fan? I know there are some Bounce Man fans down in the comments. Again, it's not my favorite song, and I would definitely place Formidable over Bounce Man, but I will say that when listening to the album front to back and Bounce Man steps up when it's its turn, I don't skip it. I'm still not a fan of the instrumentation of that little motif that is repeated throughout the song, but it's just so jolly. No Chances and Redecorate I kind of lump into one, especially because they do seemingly flow together in the middle of the transition. I just love how dark and contrasty No Chances is when it switches between 2 or 3 genres seamlessly, like we know 21 Pilots can do with ease. And it sounds like it could have been straight off of Trench. Like, it literally sounds like the anthem that plays on the speaker systems within Dima to remind the citizens that they have no chance of escaping successfully. It will always be a failed perimeter escape. Redecorate, although I still am not entirely sure what it means, other than surface level analysis provides, is still such a good song, and I love the lo-fi elements of it. I definitely think that it is a Clancy reference, or it's at least from the perspective of Clancy among the citizens of Dima. I just want more confirmation as to what the figure in the corner represents when the woman is afraid of the figure behind her in the mirror. Is that potentially representative of a bishop in her district and she's just afraid to look at it? This is the golden standard of this album of telling a story. This is where the story is so clearly told, and I want more of it, and I want to understand it better as well. So if any of you guys even know what Redecorate represents, let me know. And I know the surface level of what Tyler has said, but in terms of the lore, what does it represent? What does it mean? That's what I want to know. So overall thoughts of this album, it's just a good reminder that I need to have my expectations in check whenever I listen to a new album from an artist that I really respect and have been following for a long time. Scaled and Icy did surprise me in ways that I didn't expect. I had a very clear-cut understanding of what I thought the album would be, and when it kind of subverted that, I was confused. But ultimately, that confusion did evolve into an enjoyment of the album. As far as giving this album a grade, assigning numerical values to art has never really clicked with my brain. For me, I feel like my opinions on albums are constantly changing. And if I were to be so picky as to say, hey, this album has a 6 or a 7 or an 8, I know that I would feel differently in the years to come. Here's what I'm going to do. If I had a rating scale, I would say there was 3 general departments, right? So in the first department, it is, this made me angry and I hate it and it actually legitimately upsets me. Then in the middle, there's, this album made me feel indifferent. Maybe I was bored during some of it, but for the overall duration, it was all right. I'm indifferent. Then there would be the third category, which would be labeled something like, this makes me really happy and I really enjoy it and I feel an emotional positive connection to this piece of work. That's where Scaled and Icy would go amongst the other albums by 21 Pilots. If I were to order the albums, I would put Trench, Vessel, Blurry Face, and then like a micro millimeter behind Blurry Face is Scaled and Icy. Still super commendable, especially because all of their albums are incredibly solid, and I still go back and listen to them all on the regular. And Tyler and Josh should be proud of what they've put out. So those are my overall thoughts of Scaled and Icy. I think it's a great piece of work, and I'm proud that Tyler and Josh were not afraid of trying something new. Like this is incredibly different, you know? And so kudos to them for putting this out. So yeah, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed and want to support me further as a content creator, buy me a coffee. There's a link down in the description, and for every single person that purchases me a coffee, I give them shout outs in future videos. So if you want a shout out, check it out. It may interest you. Anyways, I gotta cut this off. Like I need to finish this now because my friends who know me personally know that I can talk for forever. And if I don't stop talking, no one will stop me because they're all too polite. All right, bye for real. See you when I see you.